welcome to the video. Today guys, I want to continue off of what we were doing in the last video, which was basically about setting up a project and kind of getting used to the UI, what everything does. So I kind of want to build off of that today. And what we are going to do today is we are actually going to make I don't even know if you can really call it a game, but it's going to be something. What we're going to do is we're going to make a little project, I'll call it for now, where all you do is click a circle, it's going to jump to a new position, and then you're going to click it again, it's going to jump to a new position, and each time you click it, it'll keep jumping around and you'll get points for it. And what's going to happen is after a set amount of time, it's going to just pop up a message that says game over, and then you can hit OK and it'll restart the game. So for right now, that's all we're going to make. So starting a new project, we're going to hit new, and we're just going to call this click stuff. So once we have our interface open again, what we are going to do first off, as always, is create a room. Then we're just going to hit OK so that we have a room to mess with. Next, we need to create our little sprite. So we're going to hit edit sprite, new sprite, and we're going to do what we did last time. It's going to be 64 by 64. Double click that. And then what we are going to do here is just make a circle. And just like before, I'm going to left and right click right here to get both of them purple. And then we're just going to draw a circle. There we go. And we're going to hit OK. We're going to hit OK. And we're going to hit OK because we don't need to do anything after that. We just need a circle. So, and then finally, make an object, and we're going to give it that sprite. Then we're just going to hit OK for now. Open our room back up, go to objects, and then just drop a copy of our object in there. Hit OK, and run it real quick just to make sure everything is good. So as you can see now, we just have a circle, and you can click it. It's not going to do anything because we haven't told it to do anything yet. So we're going to close that, and what we are going to do from here is open up our object, and what we need it to do is when we click it, so mouse left button, we need it to jump to a new position. So it's going to be on move. I don't know why I clicked something else. And what we're going to need in order for it to jump to a new position is this command right here, jump to random. I'm going to click it, drag this into the thing, and then we're not going to need to mess with any of this, so we're just going to hit OK. And so when we left click, it's going to jump to a random position, so we're going to hit OK, and then we're going to test that. So when you click it, it should now jump to a random position. Alright, so open up your object again, and this will jump it to a random position within the view, within the room. So you don't have to worry about it going off screen, because this will only put it in a position where it is still within the room. So that is done. So we now have it moving around. Next, like I said, we need it to increment a score while we do this. So how do you do that? Well, as you can see this little tab down here, score. So we can go over here, drop that in there, and it says set a new score. We're going to set it to 5, and we're going to hit OK. So we're going to get 5 points when we click this object. Going to hit OK. We're going to run it, and we're going to click it, and you might notice that we do not see our score. Well, the reason that is we have not told the game to show it to us yet. So we're going to go back to our game, or not our game, our engine. And what we are going to do in here is we're going to add the event. You can also right click within the events, add event, and we are going to add a draw event. So we're going to add a draw, and in here we simply need it to draw the score. So if you can go back to the score tab, right here, this one on the end with the green border, drag that in, and it's going to tell it to draw the score at 0, 0, and it's just going to say score. Hit OK, hit OK, and we're going to run it. Now, as you can see, we do have our score showing up, but now our character is not showing up. So within the draw event, what's happening is it's going in, drawing the score, and then just leaving it at that. So that is a problem. So how do we fix that? Well, here's how we're going to fix that. We are actually going to create a completely new object. Now, what we're going to do is we're not going to give this object a sprite, so we're going to leave it on no sprite. And you see this draw event that's in here? Well, we are going to create that in here. Draw, then we're going to come down to score, and we're going to drag the same thing in, draw value of score, hit OK, hit OK. And then we are going to right click and delete event. Hit yes, and then we're going to hit OK. So now that that event is no longer a part of our little circle, our circle pops back up. So, and as you saw, we no longer can see the score. So how do we fix that? Well, now we have to go back to objects within our room, and then we have to right click, not right click, but left click, and now we're going to see a list of our objects. We're going to click the object that has no sprite, as you can see, and then we're going to drop that into the corner just because. And as you can see, it pops up as a question mark because we did not give it a sprite, so it's just going to show it as a question mark. And then we're going to hit OK, and then we're going to run it. And now you can see the score is visible and our player, or not really our player, but our object is visible. So what exactly was the issue there? Well, when we told it to draw, we basically told it to draw that object, and we did not have it draw itself. Now, I do not want to get into very complicated things within this, but that's basically what it was. In simple terms, is we were telling it to draw the score but not the player. And just to get around that easily, we just made a blank object, and all that object did was draw the score. And that was just our simple workaround for right now. So, now that that's done, you might have noticed something when we ran it. I'll run it one more time just to see. So as you can see, our score is 0. Click it, score jumps to 5. But we click it again, notice how our score does not change. So, what is the problem here? Has to do with what we did here. So let's double click and open that up. And as you can see, all we're telling it to do is set the score to 5. We're not telling it to increment by 5, we're telling it to set to 5. Well, how do we get this to increment? Well, you see this little relative down here? Click that, and what that's going to do is it's going to say, take the value that's currently there and add 5 to it. So it's going to increment our score by 5 now. That's all relative does, and that's basically as simple as it's going to be. So it's going to take what's currently there, so if it's 0, it'll say set it to 5, and since we have relative selected, it's going to jump up by 5. And when we click it again, it's going to see that it's 5, and it's going to increase it relative to that value, so it's going to add another 5. So we hit OK, run it just to make sure that works. So now it's at 0, click it, goes to 5, click it, goes to 10, 15, 20, 25. So that's working now. So now we can see our score, we're incrementing the score, and our character's jumping around. That's awesome. But we have one more thing we need to add, that is the time limit. So how are we going to do that? Well, we need to open this back up, and here is what's going to happen. When we left click, we move it to a random position, we add 5 to the score, but we need to do one more thing. Next thing we need to do is we need to come down here to main 2 and see this little clock. I'm going to click that, drag that in, and now we're going to create an alarm. So we need it. And what's an alarm? Basically, if you know your alarm clock, we're basically setting a time for it to go off. So how long do we want this to wait? Well, for right now, we just want it to wait 5 seconds just so we can test it within a reasonable time. So how do we get 5 seconds? Well, you can't just put a 5 because this is going in number of steps. And if you remember, the steps are frames. So the game is running at 50, no, not 50, that's way too much. The game right now, as you remember, is setting, god damn it. So if you remember, when you create a room, it's defaulted to 30 frames per second. So each step is a frame, so it's going to be 30 steps per second. So if we just set 5, it's going to go 5 frames and then set the alarm off. Very, very fast, not going to get anything done. So how do we fix that? Well, you take the number of frames per second, which is 30, multiply it by the number of seconds we want it to last, which is 5 for right now, and you get 150. So let's put in 150. So that is 30 frames per second times 5 to get us 150, which is 5 seconds. So, and we're going to assign it to alarm 0. Then we're going to hit OK. So we're setting alarm 0 to 150. So now, when this alarm goes off, we need it to do something. Well, how do we check that the alarm went off? Well, if we add another event, you can see there is an alarm. Click that, and then we're going to click alarm 0. So when alarm 0 is called, all we want to do is show a message to the player that basically just says game over. And hit OK. So when we left click, we're going to jump the character to a random position. We're going to increment our score by 5, and then we're going to set an alarm for 5 seconds. When the alarm goes off, we're just going to show a message that says game over. So we're going to hit OK. We're going to run it, make sure it works. So when we click, we should wait about 5 seconds, and then we should get a little box. There it is. Hit OK. Now, here's an interesting thing. If we click it, click it, click it, click it, click it, and just keep clicking the circle, you can see that we are going well over 5 seconds and the alarm is not going off. So, what is the problem here? Well, when I stop clicking, then wait 5 seconds, then the alarm will go off. Hit OK, hit OK, and then we'll close that out. So, what is going on here? Well, each time we click the circle, we're setting the alarm to 5 seconds. So if we click the object, alarm activates, goes and starts at 5 seconds. If we click it again within the time limit, the alarm will return to 5 seconds. We wait a little bit, click it again, the alarm will return to 5 seconds. So each time we're clicking, the alarm is getting set to 5 seconds. Well, that's not what we want to do. So how do we fix that? Well, we're going to do a little something using variables. Now, if you remember variables from like your math class, it's basically just a value that we can change. So, how are we going to do this? Well, what we want is to add an event, and we're going to add a create event. So how is this going to work? We're going to add it, and when this object is created, that's when this stuff will happen. That's when the actions in this event will happen, when it's created. So like when the game is started. So what do we need to happen when this object is created? We're going to create something called a variable. So we're going to create this, and we're going to create a variable called alarm started. So we're going to set the value to false. We're going to hit OK. So we're going to set a variable called alarm started to false. So how are we going to use this? Well, when we come in here to left button click, what we're going to do is we're going to use this second one now, called test variable. We're going to drag that in, and we're going to look at the variable we just created, alarm started. A value we're going to check is for false, and the operation is equal to. So basically this is going to read from here to here to here. So it's going to start at the top, then check the third one, then check the second one. So it's going to read like this: alarm started equal to false. So this will make more sense after I hit OK. So now we're going to say, so like I said, it starts from the second one, then it's going to go to the third one, then the middle one that we did. So it's if alarm started is equal to false, then we need to start our alarm. So we're going to move this down, just click it and drag it. So if alarm started is equal to false, set the alarm to 0. So how does this test variable work? Well, the way this works is if this is true, or if this is right, then what it's going to do is it's only going to run the second line after that. So if this is equal set to, or if the alarm started is false, it'll run this, and any other actions afterwards, it doesn't matter, because this will only care about the one immediately below it. So we can set, for example, let's say we do more jump to positions. Hit OK. These are not going to be affected by what this comes up to be, because this check will only affect the next line below it. So we're going to delete. And anyway, so once we left click, we check if the alarm has been started. If it hasn't, we set the alarm to 5 seconds. And we need to do one more thing, because we're not changing this value. Variables only work in programming like this when we actually make use of them. So one more thing we need to do is come back down to control, grab this, and then we're going to take that same variable, alarm started, but this time we're going to set it to true, because now our alarm has been started. So that is all the logic we're using for right now. So let us start at the beginning. When this object is created, we're making a new variable called alarm started and setting it to false. When we click this object, we're going to jump to a new position, increment our score by 5, check if alarm started is false, which it is when it's created. So if that's true, so alarm started is equal to false, which it is, we're going to set an alarm called alarm 0 to 5 seconds. Then we're going to take that variable alarm started and set it to true. So the next time we click, it will jump to a position, set the score plus to 5, increment it by 5. Bad English right now. And then it's going to check if alarm started is equal to false, which it's not going to be, because alarm started will be true. So since that is not correct, this line will get skipped and we won't be overriding our alarm anymore. And when our alarm goes off, we're just going to display a message. So we're going to hit OK. Then we're going to run it just to make sure that all makes sense and works. So we're going to click, and like I said, we're just going to wait for 5 seconds. Alright, gives us our game over. And then we're going to close it and run it one more time just to make sure everything goes as expected. So we're going to click it, and now we're just going to keep clicking it. And as you can see, our alarm did work. We were not overriding our alarm this time. So it says OK, and this will keep going. And since we did not give it a way to do anything, since we did not give it a way to end the game, it will just go on forever like this now. So that's not right. We need the game to restart now. So what else do we have to do? We have to do one final thing. So when the alarm goes off, we display the text saying game over. And next we have to come down to main 2, I think it is. Yes, it is. We have to come down here to this little thing, this little recycle looking thing, drag that in, and that's just going to restart the game. So we're going to hit OK, hit run, and now our game should restart. So we're going to click, and then after about 5 seconds the game should give us a message. So there's the message. If we hit OK, now you can see the circle returns back to where it started, and that's because we restarted the game. So now we should click it again, wait another 5 seconds, and we get our game over again. Hit OK, and our circle returns back to the start, and as you can see, our score resets. So you get 5 seconds to get the highest score you can until you get a game over. Hit OK, and the game restarts, goes back to the original position, and our score resets. So hopefully what we did in here made sense. Hopefully that wasn't too much. I didn't really want to do a whole lot. I didn't want to get very in-depth with, like, for example, you know, making a character, making enemies, making things that happen like that. I just wanted to make something very simple, basically just a point and click type thing, just to kind of show you how these events work. So hopefully these events make sense, and hopefully these actions that are put within events make sense. And like I said, from this point on, you can start messing with these values. You can start messing with the stuff we have in here. You can come in here and you can even mess with this stuff to see what else happens. And hopefully that makes sense. Because like I said, I'm trying to make this, I guess, as easy to understand as possible. But of course, I did not really start out like this. I started out actually coding and doing a lot of stuff like that. So right now I'm trying my best with this. Let me know what you guys thought, if it was easy to follow, if, you know, maybe I should explain some things a little bit more, or just any general suggestions you guys have for how you think it would be easier to understand. But anyway, that is our project for this video. And like I said, hopefully that all made sense. Hopefully it wasn't too far out. And hopefully you guys learned a little bit more about how this engine works. And I will see you guys in the next video when I find out what else I want to do from here.